All right, so welcome back to News Dose, and it sounds like we have some more remakes and remasters on the way that I know a lot of fans have been asking for. These are actually Xbox-related games now, thanks to the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and we also have something fan-made as well that I think is very, very interesting that we do need to talk about. Now, I do understand that some people are a little bit tired of these remakes/remasters, but you know what? Honestly, I kind of tend to think that these are some of the more exciting games anymore, just because, as sad as it may be, a lot of modern games just haven't really been hitting the way that they should be. So we're going to talk about all of that today. Do make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like this type of content, but let's just go and get right into things, starting off with Concord. Like, it's actually impressive how bad Sony missed the mark with this game. Like, Sony had so much confidence in this game. So much confidence in Concord that they went out and they acquired Firewalk Studios. They gave them a ton of money, and they even went out and made a limited edition controller for Concord, which, by the way, still in stock. I know, hard to believe, right? But, they did all of this because they legitimately thought that this game was going to be the next big thing. Yet, here we are. And as of this recording, it doesn't even have 100 concurrent players on Steam. Yeah, just pathetic. If that doesn't already tell you everything that you need to know, well, according to a new analyst report, they estimated that Concord has sold just 25,000 copies worldwide, 10,000 on PC and 15,000 on the PS5. Now, let's just go take a brief moment to kind of recognize that it took them 8 years to make this game. 8 years and an acquisition later. And this is their results, just 25,000 sold. This very well might be Sony's biggest flop ever. One of their most embarrassing releases of all time. And I think what kind of makes this situation even worse than what it already is that I think almost everybody kind of knew that this was going to happen except for Sony and Firewalk. Again, I've said this before, but I just don't think they know what they're doing when it comes to live service games. They have historically struggled with multiplayer games, and somehow they just completely missed the mark. Not even just barely. They missed the mark astronomically for Concord. This is just a terrible, terrible situation. Now, though, I feel like they're probably just going to try to salvage this game as much as they possibly can. They'll probably eventually make it some kind of PlayStation Plus game, just to see if they can get any players in that way. And if that doesn't work, then they'll probably try to pivot over to a free-to-play experience as a last-ditch effort. But even with that, I'm just not convinced that they're going to get this game turned around. At the end of the day, it still has the same core problems. It's a generic hero shooter in a very crowded market with a bunch of unlikable characters. I just don't see how they're going to get this one turned around. Now, we also got an update for Stalker 2, and this is actually a really interesting situation because during Gamescom, the lead producer in an interview mentioned that the Xbox Series S version of Stalker 2 was only running at 25 frames per second, right around the area. And of course, every media outlet picked up on the story, and it just kind of blew up online. And okay, hey, rightfully so. But it has been really interesting in a sense that the update hasn't gotten as much of attention. You can take that as you will, but yes, the lead producer actually clarified the situation over on Twitter. You can read it here where he said, "Just to clarify my thoughts, I said something during the interview on Gamescom. Yes, that's what I said. However, it seems something glitched in my head during the interview as I wanted to say around 35 frames per second." So there you go. And that's much better than what we were previously hearing. Sounds like the Series X version will be a 60 FPS experience, as we recently learned at Gamescom. And then the Series S version looks like that will be 30 frames. And this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. It looks extremely impressive. We actually heard reports, just a couple weeks back about how impressive this game looks, specifically on the Xbox Series X. So that will be the preferred way to play on consoles. But you can also kind of rest easy here if you have the Series S, as long as you're okay with a 30 FPS experience. It sounds like that's what you will get with the Xbox Series S. All right, so let's go talk about some of these potential remasters, though. And I'm going to start off with a game that I've been asking for. A lot of us have been asking for, probably at least since the Crash Insane trilogy launched. That game was insanely successful, sold more than 20 million copies. The Spyro Reignited trilogy came out. had a lot of success. And, you just kind of felt like at this point that these remakes for these old, beloved mascot platformers were kind of like no-brainer decisions. Surely, Microsoft can find somebody to do a remake for Banjo-Kazooie 1 and 2. You would think that a game like that would also have a lot of success, but yet here we are, and Microsoft has done, for whatever reason, very little with this franchise. In the meantime, though, something very important actually happened for Banjo-Kazooie because its decompilation project is now 100% complete. Now, we've seen various games go through this these past few years, including Mario 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time, and even for Jak and Daxter. And basically what this means is that its code has been transferred to an easier-to-read C code, which allows its code to be more easily edited and modded. Now, this could potentially mean that a legitimate PC port will come in the future, which could include 4K resolution, widescreen support, higher frame rate, new shaders, ray tracing, and possibly even more. Not only would Banjo-Kazooie have a native HD port for PC, but if somebody wanted to, this is an if, but if somebody wanted to, they could technically mod Banjo-Kazooie more like the remake that we've been asking for all along. I mean, again, I don't really understand why Microsoft hasn't already done this, but hey, maybe fans will kind of take it into their own hands here with this potential PC port that is incoming sometime in the future. I mean, it's not necessarily a guarantee, but it is a possibility because, again, Microsoft just can't, for whatever reason, seem to do it themselves. Come on, Microsoft, let's get into gear. But in the meantime, maybe some fans will take up some of that slack for them. Just kind of throwing that out there. But either which way, this is a pretty exciting moment for the Banjo-Kazooie community because a lot of things could come from this decompilation, and that's more hope than what the Banjo community has had in a very, very long time. The only thing is, though, is that currently the team who decompiled Banjo, they aren't interested in doing a PC port themselves. So if somebody does want to do this, it's going to have to come from somebody else. But it definitely seems like we are in the path for that to happen sometime in the near future. Now, speaking of Xbox games, though, ever since Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard, there's been a lot of talk about bringing back some of their older games up to the Xbox Series X. And there's one franchise that I've heard a lot about in my comments. So for you all, I come bearing good news because it sounds like Microsoft is doing something with the Transformers series. Now, we don't know exactly what that is just yet, but you can see here on this Transformers fan website, this was posted. We have received some intel stating that Microsoft Studios is working on not just one, but 2 video game projects simply codenamed Transformers. While we do not have any information at the moment, both projects seem to be targeting this year for their release. Now, if this is true, the way that it reads, it doesn't necessarily sound like this is going to be a brand new game just because they mentioned 2 games that are targeting a 2024 release. So that actually makes it sound more like it's going to either be a part of their backwards compatible program, or this could also be potential remasters. Obviously, Activision has worked with the Transformers IP in the past during the Xbox 360 era, and the 2 games that everybody seems to be hoping for right now is War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. Those are fan favorites among the series, and those would be pretty cool games to bring back. In fact, Hasbro reportedly here recently expressed a desire to bring back those specific titles for Xbox Game Pass. So, I mean, there is a legitimate reason to believe this might actually be true, and if so, we should get an announcement rather soon. This could happen potentially within just the next few months. So, hey, if you're a Transformers fan, if you want to see these games make a comeback, well, sounds like you might have some good news inbound. Now, speaking of games that are set to make a comeback, the LEGO Harry Potter collection is set to come back once again later this year on October 8th. You can see here posted up by the Video Game Chronicle. They said the pair of games, which first debuted on the PlayStation 3 and received a PlayStation 4 port, will be released digitally on October 8th. The collection combines LEGO Harry Potter Years 1 through 4 and LEGO Harry Potter Years 5 through 8. 2 DLC packs that were released for the latter game will also be included. This remaster remastered compilation is developed by Double 11 and enhances both the graphics and gameplay with 60 frames per second, native 4K resolution, haptic feedback, and high-resolution shadow maps. So, I mean, if anything here, I think this just kind of shows you the power of this series. It keeps getting ported to a newer generation because, quite frankly, it's still worth having to this day. The LEGO series is a really good franchise for younger kids. They age incredibly well, and Harry Potter is just one of the most timeless franchises of our generation. So, the fact that it's coming back with 60 FPS and 4K resolution, I think this is a great move, and it'll kind of maintain its relevance for years to come. So if you are interested in this collection, again, it will be available on October 8th for the PS5, the Xbox Series, as well as for Steam. Definitely a really good pickup, I'd say, for younger kids. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like this type of content. And until next time, peace out.